Saludos y bienvenidos a todos to the PGP podcast. G for Ganas. Hey, Josh the Watt, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland, ISD, Garland, USA. And hey, just finished year 32, baby. 32. Ay, Dios mío. And I am so blessed. Before anything else, shout out to Dr. Moreno. I don't know where. She's Carmen San Diego. I don't know if she's in Guatemala, El Salvador, Zimbabwe, Tajikistan, or one of the stands. I don't know where she's at. But saludos, amiga, doing your thing, helping out EB students. But hey, big shout out to the MPA familia. Yes, I get to use my platform to promote the greatness that are the Jaguars. We had 90 grads that should not have graduated if they would have stayed on course. I had kids that had never talked English a year and a half ago, and they just walked with all of the state requirements by the state of Texas. You know that red state? That's where I live. All those right there. I had teen mamas graduating. I had kids that had wrong choices, and you know what? Doesn't matter. They all graduated, and it couldn't happen without a great group of staff members. Mi familia, the MPA familia, thank you very much. So I'm very happy. Now, you know what happens already out there. I know that those of you in the East Coast, you're still playing. You're still playing to like around June. Texas is done right now. We're already prepping. I'm already prepping for our first 2 days back of PD. Half of that is already done. I already contracted for January's PD session. We already have the agenda almost set. It's about looking forward and preparing always to ensure that we're the best version of ourselves. And so today I am not going to do a chinchilagua moment because I've got this cat that I know who has a great podcast, Dr. Chris. He's about to show right here. And he has an awesome book to teach you and support you, those leaders out there. He's part of show 49 of the PGP podcast. Welcome to the show once again, carnal hermano. ¿Cómo estás? Introduce yourself to all the audience. About your book.
Muy bien, gracias, Josh, y gracias. Hey, my name is Chris Yoakum, currently the chair of the Department of Teacher Education at Fort Hays State University. And congrats to you, Josh, and your great team, the work you're doing there. You have a great staff, but that doesn't happen without your great leadership. When I was in K-12, I taught English as a second language, taught Español también. And so really appreciate the great work that you're doing down there, changing lives. So I appreciate you having me for a few minutes today.
Thank you, brother. You go, man. I know we had you on the show, the university. You are the principal, and it's called the department chair at the secondary level. And you bring those traits to your level. But you know what? They go hand in hand with the campus principal. So, hey, tell the educators out there, what do you provide with them with that awesome book that you have?
Well, hey, thank you for giving me the opportunity. A few years ago, I wrote a leadership book. And as we know, leadership is leadership. We all just happen to serve from a different perspective. I'm currently a department chair, but we have so much going on, training leaders. We have students sometimes in as many as 500 classrooms across the country in a semester. Keeps us busy. And so I wrote a book called The Department Chair, Practical Guide to Effective Leadership. I've used this with K-12 educators, higher educators. Also have worked into another book coming out here in the fall that's specific for teacher leaders. But this book is really an oversight if you are thinking of making that formal move. And we're all leaders if we we work and serve with people because we deal with people problems. But if you're looking at making that formalized role, just like Josh always says, he uses the analogy of, hey, buddy, you're the only one in that chair. And whether it's a title or whether it's the actual chair, whether it's a position, I wrote this because we write the books we wish we had. And so I wrote this to answer questions that I had and to help people along the way. I have the foolish 4, why not to lead. Then I have reasons why you should leave, how to manage yourself on a daily basis, how to establish a positive culture and climate, how to positively address conflict, the importance of mentoring, and just everything in between. So even if you're not in higher ed, I would say that there's aspects of this book that's going to add value to you, and certainly hope you get a chance to look at it. And I'm easy to find. Shoot me an email anytime, and I'm always happy to answer questions or help you out along the way.
Please tell them a little bit about your podcast. You know what? As you know, I love listening to podcasts every morning, at least 3 per day. Let them know about your podcast, sir.
Well, hey, thank you. And you're one of my biggest fans, maybe my only fan, but I'll take it, senor. But no, I have the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. Again, I wanted to start something that was unique to where I work in leadership. But, you know, I learn from everybody. And I'm not just saying this. If you want to learn from great leaders and you're in education like I am, you better be talking to those in K-12, because they are on the ground floor of leadership and they do things that people in higher ed maybe don't see as much or at all. So if you just want something that's going to give you a broad perspective on leadership and enable you to learn from people with different perspectives, which I think we need more of in our world right now, check it out. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. It's called the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. Josh has been on there. I've had superintendents, had a former Fortune 500 CEO on there not too long ago. Really hope it adds value to you as a listener.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And hey, out there, I can let you know that I picked up a lot of nuggets from this young man right here. He's a great interviewer. Not only that, but he makes good connections in the transition between sometimes that snooty secondary higher ed to us public education people. That's all good. But he does a great tie-in between all of us. We know that we learn from people like you. Chris, thank you for being here. I'll be putting out the information on how to get his book, and for sure he'll be back when the new book comes out in the near future. Chris, thank you very much for giving us some of your time. God bless you. Have the great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
God bless you. Bye-bye. And without further ado, episode 55 with the main man. You know what? Normally people say that I have energy. I got to keep up with this guy right here. He runs triathlons, biathlons, super athlons, nova athlons. He's making magic appear, the Matterhorn appear. I don't know. This guy is all over. But before anything, Dave, I would like to let you know that this year, I don't know if you remember or not, but Andrea Bittner was one of our PD specialists. I bring in national speakers to our humble little house with only 35 teachers. I bring them in. And your book was our first semester, Teach Like a Pirate. And you recorded a little video for the faculty and staff. We responded to you.
Yes.
We did like ours for you, but let you know is that was an ongoing philosophy this year. But most importantly, myself, as someone that's part of that family, I want to thank you for sending out that video. You didn't have to do that, but we really valued it because it really tied into our message this year of empowering and teaching with energy. Dave Burgess, thank you and welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on the show. You are more than welcome for that. It was my honor to send that. And I really appreciate y'all reading the book and embracing the message. And congratulations on 32 years. That's incredible.
Woo, Dave, I can't tell you. It just, when you see those kids walk across the stage and you talk about this a lot, about that fire, about that inspiration the kids bring to us every day, and knowing the success stories that is a specialty campus like MPA, let me tell you, soy hombre, I don't cry, but they almost got me. They almost broke me. And it's such a joy to see that they are someone's beautiful little child. Though they're 18 and 19, some of them are 20, they're still that little baby in the little diaper from that parent. And it's such a joy to all of us. So thank you for your kind words. Real quick, welcome, Dodd McGeever, part of the Fantastic Four. Hey, Dave, if you didn't know, we're part of 4 podcasts. We're part of a whole 4 group. We have Sean Hurt at 10 o'clock on Saturdays, Facebook Live. Shika and Tammy right after that. Principal Baruti Kafele, number 3, and I am the anchor, the PGP podcast. And Dodd McGeever is our number 1 PR agent. She attends all the shows. Thank you for being Jefe. Speaking of, Jefe is here in the house. Principal Kafele, I hope your Knicks do better than my Wizards, which I know they are. So best of luck with everything, Jefe, with your team tonight. I hope you're feeling better. Dodd McGeever, September Divine, thank you for being here. Also appreciate you in the show tonight. It's all the Fantastic Four family there, Dave.
Principal Capelli is the best voice in education.
Dave, isn't he? Isn't that cat something else?
It's like
It just
the Morgan Freeman of the educational world, the best voice right there.
facts,
Yeah.
facts, sir, facts. So, Dave, let's start off with your passion in education. It's just so evident the way you wear so many hats, from being the magician, and you talk about that, the inspiration through hearing your voice, through your books and through your podcast, being a coach. You know when to rub it in and when not to rub it in on the basketball court. A teacher, an author, a publisher. That all inspiration. Yeah, it comes from us. It's organic. You know what? It's either you have it or you don't. But our parents had a lot to do with that, on how they guided us. So let us know, let the audience know, how did your parents help you out with this motivation, this drive that you have for education, for your content, for the love of life?
Yeah, so first of all, I come from a family of educators. My father was a professor at San Diego State University. He was a swim coach there when he first came, was a part of one of their first national championship teams as a swim coach. And then he was a professor of health science. And my mother was a nurse, and then went into nursing instruction, became a teacher, a director of the nursing program. So both of them heavily involved in education. So education was a part of my house from the very early stages. I saw my dad going off to class every single day at the university. And so education was something that was always super important to me. I understood the importance of teaching, how powerful teaching could be, and how life-changing a role that could be. And that became a big part of my message, is that as educators, we need to embrace the mightier purpose of being an educator. What we do goes way beyond the content standard. It goes way beyond the curriculum. Embracing that mightier purpose of being a life-changing agent in the lives of our students. And so that's something that I'm on fire about. It's something that I'm passionate about. And it's something about, even in the beginning of the passion part of the book, Teach Like a Pirate, I said, listen, there's 3 categories of passion. We know we're supposed to be passionate about education, but we're not always passionate about everything that we teach. That's just the reality of it, right? So where else can you draw from? Well, you can draw from your personal life, your personal passions, but you can also draw from your professional passions. So it's not just your content. So beyond your subject matter in the classroom, what are you on fire about just as an educator? And how can you bring that passion into what you do every day? And so that became kind of one of the cornerstones of the Teach Like a Pirate message.
So true. Exactly. There's always that one thing. And that's one of the things I kept repeating, because just so you know, Dave, every Wednesday I meet with our brand new teachers, our instructional aides, our long-term subs, and we do PD, just 25-minute shots, just on pedagogy. And it's always be inspired for what you teach, because no one wants to be in a boring teacher's class. I don't want to be in boring PD when they take me to central office. None of us want to do that. So it's one of those things that I love the fire, and it's just evident. You just bring it like a dragon. It's just like, oh, and I love it, my man. So let's dig a little bit deeper there, Dave. Let's peel back that little onion. Let's go a little bit. How are you, sir, as a student? How are you academically? How did you behave? Who was Dave, the young pirate?
Yeah, so my career as a student, this influenced my teaching as well, by the way. And I was a good student, but I was often a disengaged and unmotivated student. So I knew how to jump through all the hoops. I knew how to get all the scores that I needed to get, and I knew how to play the game of school. Right? But I was just playing the game of school and wasn't always engaged. And I was a little bit of a class clown. Okay. And so I was a little bit of a class clown, a little bit of a behavior issue, but yet was still getting getting great grades. And so that was something that I vowed to turn around for my students. Is I knew what it was like to be disengaged in the classroom. And that's not casting any shade on my teachers. I had some great teachers in high school. But I wasn't always pulled into my classes. And so that was something that I definitely wanted to change. And I knew that engagement was the cornerstone. Sometimes people even give me a bad time about my focus on student engagement, right? And there's all these other important things and empowerment and all this stuff. I listen, hey, this is how I said it in the book. I said it in a confrontational way. I said, listen, it doesn't matter what you say if nobody's listening. So you can, if you don't have a focus that goes back to engagement, then it's gonna be a problem. And so student engagement became another one of the focuses of the Teach Like a Pirate message.
when you were that youth and you knew how to play school, we have a lot of kids like that. What do you think would have turned you around to stay more focused? Was it that you were, sometimes we live up to the standard that the educator provides in the class. Because if it's a boring ditto teacher and you're very smart, you're going to be playing the game like some of my children, my blood, mi sangre. They're like, this is boring stuff, Dad. I'm not trying to get in trouble, but I mean, this is just busy work. So do you think that a little bit more of what you talk about, the engagement, would have assisted you as a student?
Yeah, so a couple things on this. So teachers sometimes get upset when a student says, why do we have to know this? Why do I have to learn this, right? And it's interesting that people get upset about a student saying that, because isn't that what we want? And when we go to a professional development, don't we want to know how does this impact me? What's in this for me, right? A good salesperson knows that you always ask what's in it for you. You're looking from the standpoint of the potential client. What's in it for them, right? You're selling what's in it for them. You're not selling what's important about it to you, right? And so I think it's very interesting when people don't like kids to ask that question, because if we're not answering that question for them, or we don't have an answer, then that's a problem. And so I think showing relevance to what we do in school to kids is super important. And then another thing about it is I have this triple Venn diagram I talk to educators about, and I'll just real briefly tell you the triple Venn diagram. So one of the circles is your content, right? We have to have that circle, or just entertainers or babysitters, right? But there's lots of ways you can learn about your content. There's lots of professional development about content and all that. Then there's this second circle that interacts with that one. I call it techniques and methods. And we have this whole toolbox of techniques and methods as educators that we got from our credential programs, professional development, from our colleagues. And lots of books have been written about the techniques and methods of teaching, right? But then there's this third circle that I think that no one's talking about. And I've got this zeal to go and talk about. The third circle I call presentation. So yes, you know your content. Yeah, you have all these techniques and methods, but now how are you going to present it in such a way that it's relevant for the kids? How are you going to present it in such a way that's engaging for them? How are you going to present it in such a way that it draws them almost magically or magnetically into what you're doing in your room? That's the third circle of Teach Like a Pirate, right? And so again, if I would, it's so often that educators collaborate around content and technique, but how often do we get together as educators and collaborate around presentation? Right. What can we do to this to make it, to draw them in and make it more relevant and engaging for them? And so I'm trying to get teachers to spend more time in that third circle of presentation.
So true. And that's one of the things that I Stick, I agree with you. It's one of those things that we talk as people that sit in my chair, that you have to, just by the aesthetics of your room, and you talk about how you will go all out in units to create the environment, the ambiance. And it's one of those things that you have to spend that extra time to make sure that the TikTok generation, I know I heard you in your last podcast with Lainey that you got into TikTok barely, and you're kind of fighting through it. But that's your attention span, and that's how we left off this school year. I said, we cannot have an ICU environment with kids that are coming new to the country, that are barely learning English. It's got to be a Linus blanket, a loving environment, but an engagement aesthetically throughout the. And so I so 100 believe in, like I tell you, your book went all the way, brother. Your book and your podcast, I just used it all year long. And it's crucial that we use those techniques. Big shout out to Melissa Jones Jr. from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Dr. Edwin Garcia from New Jersey. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Dave, you talk about rap music a lot. You know, that you were one of those guys. And not only that, but you combine the world of rap music with athletics, coaching, icons, and you smash them together as who you are as an individual. That's what your inspiration that I've picked up from you. Why is that such a strong force in your psyche? Why did those two things connect with you? And when you were in the classroom, who inspired you? Was it still that music and those coaches, or were there other educators that just pumped you up?
Yeah, so that's always been, I have a long time background as a DJ and MC. And so this was something that was always inspiring to me, and always how you could move people through charisma and through the power of the spoken word, right? And that's really what do educators do? They are persuasive through spoken word, through the power of their charisma, their presence. And if you see a good rapper, they have presence, they have charisma, and they have unbelievable power to move you through the spoken word. That's what we're doing in education, right? And same with coaching. You know, you have coaches that can get a team ready to knock down a wall coming out of a locker room, and you have coaches that their team always underperforms, right? And so it's the impact of the coach is enormous. I had some incredible influences at an early age. So I tell people my gateway drug into education was as a basketball coach. In fact, my first job as a human being, I worked three summers for John Wooden at the John Wooden basketball camps in Thousand Oaks, California. Okay, they were held on a camp. Cal Lutheran College was the campus that they were held on. They used the dorms during the summer. And for 3 consecutive summers at a formative time in my life, I worked week after week after week at these basketball camps with John Wooden as a counselor and assistant coach. And so I got to see the man, maybe one, if not the greatest coach of all time, John Wooden, give his pyramid success every week to the campers and to the parents. You know, the parents would sit in the bleachers, kids would sit on the gym floor. John Wooden would come out, give his pyramid success talk and all that kind of stuff. And then the parents would go home for the week. We would keep the kids for the week, teach them basketball fundamentals, UCLA high post, all these different things, right? And so I got to kind of like learn at the feet of a true master. And, you know, when people talk about like maybe they go off to Tibet or something and learn on some mountaintop with some master. Well, I got to go to Thousand Oaks, California and learn at the feet of John Wooden. And so that was something that was very formative for me in my early years too.
In the classroom, did you have any role models at the campus that you were at that just said, hey, you know what? I like the way that this person does this. Did you have anyone that you remember at your early formative years in the classroom?
As a colleague?
Yes.
Yeah, well, so I'll give a shout out to my department chair for all the years that I taught, who is Brian Ross. And what was significant about Brian Ross is, first of all, when I came into the profession, he opened up everything that he had, all of his curriculum, all of his lessons, all the resources. He did this not just for me, he did this for all the teachers in the department, and said, here's like basically my life's work as an educator. Take whatever is useful for you, right? And so teachers who are new are often so overwhelmed and they're trying to come up with stuff. And so the idea that an experienced teacher brought me in and said, hey, listen, here's everything that I've ever done in my classroom. It's your like an open resource, like take anything you want, use anything you want. I'm here for you, was a huge thing early on in my career. It got me through. My first job was a summer school job where you have to teach multiple hours per day, same kids. And you have to go through the curriculum super fast. And if it's the first time going through the curriculum, that could be overwhelming. I don't think I would have survived my first summer without him. But even more important than that, we had all kinds of teachers in the department who taught all kinds of different ways. And what he always believed was that each teacher is going to be most effective teaching in their personal, most powerful way, and that we did not all have to teach everything exactly the same. We all might teach the same basic curriculum and standards, but we might have different ways of getting to the mountaintop, right? We're all headed to that mountaintop, but we're going to have different paths along the way. And so he empowered all of us to embrace our strengths. That's actually one of the cornerstones of Teach Like a Pirate as well, is that what is unique about you, your particular strengths and talent, and your voice that you add into what your classroom is what makes you most powerful and effective with students. And that is something that you should embrace.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And shout out to Mr. Ross, right?
Yes, Brian Ross.
Shout out to him. And shout out to my sister in the Fantastic Four, Sheikah Houston. Dr. Sheikah Houston, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. As always, our family united Saturdays and Sundays. So, Dave, people think that you just became famous and you're out there doing national, talks and speaking. No, we all started. We all evolved with little freebies, free. Sometimes you had to pay. You had to pay to go send your message out there. And I think there's one of those things that in one of your podcasts you talk about the specificity of doing that. But there are individuals out there that really have not discovered your podcast or read your books. So overall, I ask this, Dave, there are educators out there that want to become speakers. They know that they have a good message. So my question to you is, how did you start speaking? You know, people need to know the genesis of our stories always to know where they find themselves in that journey. And when did you realize that you were ready for the big stage? What said, boom, aquí estamos listos?
Yeah, and so it all started for me. Speaking of Brian Ross, I met him for lunch one day, and he said, "Hey, I just got put on the professional development committee for the district." And I thought to myself, how cool would it be if you put together a workshop based on some of that crazy stuff you do out in your room that nobody understands, right? And then he said something that changed my life. He said, "But you know what? I'm not sure that you can. Like, I think that your success in the classroom is kind of you. I think it's personality driven. I'm not sure it's something you can teach to other people." Well, I was like, "Well, sign me up." I got upset by him. I'm like, "Sign me up. I'll do one of these workshops." So I signed up to do a full day workshop. Not smart, not in 1 hour, full day workshop for the peers in my district, and drove away from that meeting going like, oh my God, like I don't have a workshop. I don't have any of this written down. I don't have it organized in any fashion. And so I got relentless about writing down everything I do in my classroom that I thought was successful, but that wasn't good enough because that's what I do. I didn't take it a step back further and try to come up with where do these ideas come from to begin with, right? And that's where the whole genesis of it came. But the key point of this, to your point, Josh, is that when I signed up to do a workshop, I was not ready to do a workshop. I did not have a workshop. I was not. If somebody's out there and wants to become a speaker and you're waiting for the time to be right, if you're waiting for everything to fall into place, if you're waiting for everything to be perfect, you will never do it because that moment is never going to come. The timing is never going to be right. There's always something that you can use as an excuse. So you have to seize that opportunity. And, you know, they talk about jumping out of the plane and like building your parachute on the way down. That's what I did. I signed up for the full day workshop and built the workshop as the date was approaching. Nothing like a deadline to get you motivated. And so like I knew I was going to be standing in front of my peers in my district with a full day workshop. I better have something pulled together. And by the way, if you read my session description, if you write a session description that says that you're going to teach teachers how to create a wildly and outrageously engaging classroom that has students knocking down the walls to get in, you better have a pretty dang good workshop. Like if you're going to bill yourself as the engagement person, like that's a lot of pressure for your workshop, right? And so I knew that this was, you know, that this was something I needed to do. I wanted teachers to feel what it was like to be drawn in, like my students were. And so that's when I first developed the Teach Like a Pirate workshop with that clock ticking, tick, 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 deadline approaching.
At what stage did you know, or when did people say, I need that cat over here in Wisconsin. I need him. When did your name start going out? Because if I remember right, in one of your shows, it stated that the Teach Like a Pirate book took a while for it to grow wings. It took a while for it to grow wings. So when, in regards to your name recognition, to go out there, how long did it take? Yeah,
so let's go back to that story. So so the book didn't come until 5 or 6 years after that first Teach Like a Pirate workshop. After I did that first workshop, I saw people's faces. I saw what was happening to an audience when I was giving this message, right? And then I began to go anywhere where anyone would listen to me to talk about these ideas. I submitted conference proposals all over the nation. And if any conference in any state said, yeah, you can come do your pirate thing here, I got a plane ticket, a hotel room, bought a conference registration at that point in my career, and I went and I did my thing. Now think about this. Nobody knew who I was. I was a crazy guy walking around these education conferences dressed like a pirate. Like now, people know who I am when I'm dressed like a pirate, right? But if you think back to the origin of it, I was still dressed like a pirate, but walking around these education conferences, nobody knew who I was. Like that was crazy, right? People thought I was insane. And I wrote up the session description to make it sound like you were going to Disneyland. And then I walked around and recruited people. Like I was relentless. I walked around the lobbies of these hotels where the conferences were. I walked by the registration tables. I walked down the hallways where people were looking through their program and deciding what to go see next, right? And I would just walk down these hallways and be like, hey, I hear there's going to be a pirate in room 18 at 10 o'clock, right? And they would turn around and see a 6'5" pirate walk by, right? And then I I had pirate music playing out of my room. I was standing out in the hallway. I had a big sign. I didn't even have a computer. It was written on a foam board at the time. It said the #1 top secret way to become a better lover, and propped it up in the front of my room. And I'd be like, hey, you don't want to go to that session. This one's going to be better. Come on over here. Hey, you, like, read the sign. You need this stuff. Come on, get in here, right? And we would just jam them in those rooms. We broke fire code after fire code. I wasn't in the keynote space at that point in my career. I was just in some little session room, right? And we would just jam them in there. I see Principal Caffelli says he remembers coming across me on those days. And I remember coming across you. You had already risen to the top. You had already made it, Principal Caffelli. And I was this young buck coming along with my pirate bandana on. And like, shout out to people like Principal Caffelli who were encouraging and supportive of young, enthusiastic, a little bit crazy and wild guy like me along the path up to the top. And that's something I always try to do to speakers coming up now. I remember what it was like to be that person that nobody knew. And Principal Caffelli was very kind to me, and I try to return that favor to other people that are coming up behind me.
You're so right about Jefe. He does that. He just encourages left and right out there. Big shout out to Professor El Profe Laws. Hey, man, blessings to you and your family going through this tough time, my man. Family, those of you part of the Fantastic Four family, keep on sending those prayers to El Profe and his wife. Everything is going out there. And you know what, Dave? There's this young man who was Principal of the Year for Texas last year. He was a national runner-up. His name is David Arencibia. And what you're describing right now, that cat right there. Last year, he left the principalship and he started doing what you said, what Principal Caffelli says. He said, oh, Lord, I'm jumping to the deep side of the pool. And this guy, over 1 year, I had lunch with him last year at TASSP. And this whole year, exactly what you said, he dove in and he's been putting out his word, his elite culture that he does there. So, hey, David, 1 year, my brother, 1 year, and you're still rocking and rolling, and appreciate you. Thank you for being here and joining us today. So, Dave, on your podcast, I think 2 shows ago that I listened to, you use social media to relax. I feel you. I'm one of those, all right? You know how people say, I get away from social media so I could relax. No, that's my time to brain drain. I feel you. I understand that. And you are nuclear on that, a good nuclear. Not Fukushima or 3 Mile Island, a good nuclear, because you're all over the place. You're all over the place in a positive way, promoting with quotes, your upcoming, conference or survey that you're going to do, all those things that you're just promoting nonstop. So I ask you, why or when did you get so into social media? Number 1, when and how did you get into it? And number 2, what would you say to those educators? And you know, there's a lot that are still very hesitant on using it.
Yes. So, okay. Social media, I feel it's a misunderstood space, and it's one of those things that you get out of it what you look for and what you're putting into it. And it's like nutrition. If you eat all junk food, it's going to turn out bad for you, right? But you can make better choices. The same thing with what you consume in social media. And it's very easy to spin down rabbit holes right now of negativity, and especially of late, right? And so you can use social media to take you into very dark spaces, and or you can use social media as a great uplifter, a place to connect and build community. That's always what I've seen social media as a place to build community, and a place to share out, and a place to build relationships, connections with people. So if you feel like you're someone, maybe you're not getting everything that you need where you're at, reach out and build the connections and relationships with people on a global scale. Not only can you share out the amazing work that you're doing, like that's what I love, what you do at the Jaguars. Like I get to see every week. I know what's going on. I know what's going on with the Jaguars because you're sharing that out, right? But also you're pulling in ideas, innovative people, creative people, things that are going to help make your system better, things that are going to help you make you personally better. So that is the appropriate way to use social media, not only to share out the good work that you're doing, but also to get and pull in the good work that others are doing. A lot of people feel almost like they're being selfish or egotistical when they're sharing out positives that are happening in their system or in their classroom. And I always tell them, like, no, this is not the way it is. Like, there are lots of people out there who are needing validation, needing help, needing new ideas. And when you're sharing, maybe they're thinking about something, you share out that it was successful for you, that takes them off the fence and gives them the courage to maybe try something new. Now, I'm an over-the-top person, so I'm going to give you an over-the-top example of this, okay? So like when I'm working, for example, with an author, or this could be a classroom teacher, and they're feeling, and a lot of times that's the same thing. Maybe one of the classroom teachers, they just become an author. They're like, yeah, but if I keep sharing out my stuff, like people are going to think that I'm like so egotistical and all that. Whoa, hold on. Now listen to me. If you were at a party and you knew CPR and someone on the other side of the party dropped to the ground and stopped breathing, would it be selfish or egotistical of you to make it known loud and clear that you were able to help that person? If you were to push your way through the crowd to get over to them, would people look at you like, oh, look at this bully, like making his way through, oh, trying to always be the life of the party? No, they would look at you as a hero because you had exactly what that person needed at that moment. And you did everything that you were capable of doing to get over to that person in time to save them. Well, there are educators, there are school systems, there are people who are suffocating, not breathing in today's climate in education right now, right? If you have something that you know would help them, it's not just okay for you to share it. You have a moral imperative to share it. If you know something that's going to help other people and you don't share it because of some issues that you have with not wanting to be selfish, that's a problem. You have a moral imperative to share things that will help other people. And so that's what I always tell authors, educators is I know you know some stuff that would help other people. So you need to get out there and share that message with them and fulfill that moral obligation that you have to do that. And then, by the way, not only do you have a moral imperative to share it, but I'll go a step further. You have a moral imperative to do everything it takes to get good at sharing it, to get better at sharing it. Because the better you are at sharing it, then the wider that message will spread. And if you think that message will be helpful for other people, then you also should know that you need to try to do everything you can to get good at sharing it too. And so that's helped some of our people kind of overcome some of that fear of putting themselves out there.
Dave, that's so true. And I'm glad that you mentioned that about that fear. And, you know, Jimmy Casas talks about in his podcast that we're such a complex thing known as an educator. We want kudos, but we don't want to do the things to get us the kudos. So we say we don't get enough kudos, but we don't want to put it out there because we're humble. We don't want to get it. So that's a complexity that we are. And then there's this third branch that says, well, I don't want to put it out there because people are going to think that I'm all of that in a bag of chips. And that's where I love hearing Jerry Brooks. No peanut butter and jelly. Don't be jealous. Learn from it. Like you said, if I'm choking, baby, you better bring that CPR to this fat face. You better get that thing out of my throat. You better make sure you take care of me. And that's what we need right now, because where our customers, Dave, you and I know this for a fact, our customers are right here. That's where they're making us, and that's where they're breaking us, both. So what are we putting out there in the psyche? What are we putting out there in the atmosphere to ensure that our message is being out there, that we're doing beautiful things for our kids? And we are. Lord Jesus, we're doing so many great things. And even that gap from the Rona, it's still there. I'm seeing it, Dave. I'm getting these kids that are 2 years behind and they're trying to graduate, and they have that apathy of being at home and they don't want to take notes. They don't want to do exit tickets. How am I inspiring them? How are our team members inspiring them to do those things? Because that's the best practice. That's for them to do. And we need to put that out there. Thank you very much. Frank, go ahead.
It's never more important than right now to not let other people control the narrative about what's happening in our schools. They want to control the narrative about what's happening in our schools. They want to control the narrative about certain student populations. And do not abdicate the space, the public space to these people that want to try to bash public education, want to bash what we are doing in schools, make it look like there's certain students that don't deserve support. Now is the time more than ever to be vocal, to be loud, and to make sure that we tell our own stories. Don't let other people tell your story.
And the things that what we put in the libraries, that's another thing. They don't even have kids. They don't even have kids in that campus, but they want to talk about what's in the library. So, we don't want to get into that side conversation, but that's what's out there. And it's about us controlling the narrative, from that pre-K teacher that did that beautiful little glue thing that gets glue all over their hands, to that senior teacher that writes the best essay out there in the world that will make you cry. Inspiration from that pre-K teacher that made the glue thing. It doesn't matter what. It's what we put out there. So beautiful things. Hey, Dave, we know, you and I know, and you way more than me, and you, Principal Cafela, David at Encivia, you guys are out in the country, and you're seeing this gap that we have with educators. When I started back in the Stone Age, in the Mesozoic area, we used to have like 7 pages of candidates. We had a plethora of candidates where we could know, we don't need you. Now it's hard to find 2 candidates. It's hard. It's difficult out there. And when they come in for being alt certs, they don't have, more often than not, the passion that you show, my man. You create a lunar environment in your room. They don't know how to do that. They just came from industry, or they've been doing something different out there. And you always talk about the passion for your content, for passion what you do. So how can you coach those administrators? This question is about you coaching administrators to help that individual that just barely got hired today, and he has all this summer, which is not really that much, to prep for July the 30th, when they're going to come in ready to rock and roll with at-risk kids. So how do you motivate that administrator to motivate those people to love what they do, love that content?
Yeah, so for administrators, one of the things that I tell them is that it's super popular to say that you support risk-taking and innovation. But we don't really know if you support risk-taking and innovation until we see how you respond when somebody fails, when someone falls on their face or falls short. Then we really figure it out. Do you come in as a support and a person who celebrates the courage it took for that teacher to try something new, to step out on the edge a little bit? Maybe it didn't go well, but if you come in as someone who says like, wow, I saw what you tried to do there. That was risk, didn't work out this time. How can we figure this out? And if you are a support and a celebrator of courage and innovation, you will see more of that on your campus from your educators, whether they be new or experienced. If you come in an evaluative way, a judgmental way, then you are going to see less creativity, innovation, and risk-taking in your school system. And so words mean very little what really matters is actions. And those, when you have a rock star teacher and you're like, I love risk takers, look at so-and-so down a room, so-and-so, that's great. What about the person over 3 rooms over that fell on their face? Are you judgmental? Is it more of an evaluative conversation? Or are you celebrating them as well? Because they tried something new, it just didn't work out this time. If you want them to try something new again, then it's all in how that administrator responds.
All right. So let's go break it down into the specificity of the kid. I think that you might agree with me or might not agree with me. There are more kids in the middle. I call them the gut kids. We have the MIT, Baylor, Harvard kids up here. Then we have the kids that were like me, a knucklehead, will ditch every day, go get drunk, self-medicate. So we focus a lot on those 2 groups, right? But the ones in the middle, there's more of them. The 60s to 79s. I always tell educators, do any of you celebrate the kid that went from a 72 GPA to a 77? That's a crap load of points on a GPA in a semester. Do you do anything? No, you celebrate A honor roll. Hey, you celebrate AB. Hey, you celebrate Josh for coming 2 weeks in a row or not getting any referrals. What about that gut kid? So my question to you is this. What can we do better as a system right now, since you're all over the country, my man? What can we do better to help those kids in the middle and to give more student voice to where they're active in the learning, active in the decision-making for a campus?
Yeah, so I think part of it goes back to that thing that we were talking about earlier with relevance, is that's often the kid who's sitting there, they're jumping through the hoop, They don't really see the relevance of what they're learning, though. They just know that they're supposed to like turn this paper in at the end of the day, like this assignment at the end of the day. And they don't have any real choice in their learning. And so one of the things I think that we can do is offer the kids more like, here's what we need you to know, but like maybe you can determine how you want to demonstrate that knowledge, right? And so then you're going to see kids who maybe have an artistic bent. Maybe they, whatever it might be now, they're going to maybe do an art project on it. Maybe they're going to do a song on it. Maybe they're going to do a skit. Maybe they're going to create some sort of video, whatever it might be. But we give some more opportunity for choice in the demonstration of knowledge, but then also allow them to go down some rabbit holes of self-interest. I have this thing that I talk about, this theme park analogy. And the theme park analogy that I talk about is like, if you go to the modern day theme park and you go on these rides, like the Jurassic Park ride, the Excalibur, like medieval times kind of ride, right? And you go on these rides and they're exciting, and then you like, they strap you in and they fly you around these curves, and then the ride stops and they lift the little bar off of you. Where are you? All the modern theme parks these days, they empty you into the gift shop. That's where they put you. And now with your kid, you have to go through the entire gift shop that's been themed to this ride that they just went on, right? So like if it's the Jurassic Park right now, there's dinosaur sets and T-Rexes and all these different things that they see. And what does that kid want at that moment?
That.
All of it. They want all of it. They want everything they see. I take my kid through the shark encounter at SeaWorld. They go through the little glass tunnel on the moving sidewalk, right? And there's like, oh my gosh, look at the shark. Oh, look how many teeth they have. Like, oh, look, there's a shark over here, right? The sidewalk stops. What do they see right there? Shark tooth necklaces, books about sharks, DVDs of sharks, right? And what do they want right there? They want all of it because they just saw sharks and now they're fired up about sharks, right? And that's how we need to look at education, is we want to focus on powerful pedagogy, getting kids excited about the lesson. And then now, don't kill it with a worksheet packet. Don't kill it with busy work, right? Empty them into the gift shop of how they can go further and explore down these rabbit holes of self-interest. Now they're fired up about what they just learned because of powerful pedagogy. And now you empty them in the gift shop of how they can explore further and let them go down these rabbit holes, right? And so I think that's something that's going to help all kids across the whole spectrum, not just the bottom, not just the top, but also the middle. Giving them choice in how they demonstrate knowledge and allowing them to explore down rabbit holes of self-interest, because what you created for them was such a powerful experience. Don't just teach a lesson, create an experience. Lessons are easily forgotten, but experiences live forever. So how are you creating experiences for kids that get them excited about your content? And then now, how are you releasing them to even explore it further now that they're into it?
Now, I'm going to touch a hot button. And you know what? After 3 decades, you kind of like don't care about stuff there, Dave, you know? So 100%. I love doing PD, me, Josh. And our philosophy is the fundamental 5. It's all engagement, bell to bell, writing, lesson frame, an agenda, what's happening that day in the class, FSGPT, Power Zone. We do all that. That's the blueprint. That's the blueprint, especially with kids that speak Swahili, Urdu, Pashto, the different dialects of Spanish. Spanish is not a monolith. Cubans are not the same thing as Mexicans. Our Spanish is totally different. And so it's kind of hard to teach mitosis and meiosis to kids from different countries in the same classroom. That's what we do. And so I tell this to our team members. And so, but I have to role model it. I do. I can't tell a team member, go teach this way without me knowing how to do it. Because as Principal Cafella says, I'm faking the funk. Yeah. What does Todd Whitaker say? Central office tells you, go make it an A school. Go make it an AB school. But they never show you how to do it. And then they complain when the principal doesn't know how to do it. So Mike, a follow-up question to thee is this. Do you feel that administrators that you see, obviously, again, you see way more than what I see in my little niche. I've only been in 2 cities, 3 districts. Do you think administrators are ready to help with that pedagogy right now with the type of student that we have post-COVID with the alt-certs? Do you think that we're doing an effective job as administrators?
Yeah, so I don't know that we necessarily are. I think that we're doing better than the public perception of it, but I think that we need to do a better job. That's like one of the reasons I love the work back to Principal Caffelli, is I don't think that administrators always get the best PD. So we often talk about PD for teachers, but it's equally important that our administrators are getting powerful and effective PD. And so I love the work that he does in that area with not just principals, but assistant principals and all that, like multiple areas in administration. And so I think that's something that we can lean into more, is to get better training for our administrative staff. I also love when I give a professional development, I can tell a lot about the culture of a school system by what are the administrators doing while I'm presenting. So I'm brought in to talk to the teachers, right? And sometimes you see administrators who they're not even there. They introduce me and then I don't see them for the rest of the day, right? Sometimes I see them doing other stuff, or they're in the back table working on their computer or something like that. Sometimes they're sitting in the front row and they're just as engaged with what's going on as the teachers. They're talking to the teachers at break about the stuff that they saw. They're collaborate. When I do like a little small group thing or something, they're in the small group with the teachers talking about ideas and things like that. And then I go, oh, okay. Now this is a school system that has a great culture, because we have a learner in the administrative office. We have someone who is not just interested in what's the emails that they got that morning, but there's a presenter up who's talking about classroom stuff, pedagogy in front of the room. And I want to be a part of this too. I want to learn. I want to hear what my teachers are learning so that I can support them. And as they're trying to do what this speaker is doing in their classrooms, I will have seen that speaker too. And I can support them with ideas and be able to shout them out when I see something that they're using effectively. And so that's something I love, to go to a place where I'm presenting and I feel like I can't even tell who's the administrator and who's the teacher, because everybody's engaged in it.
Love it. So I'll say it. I know you're still presenting. You're going to present for 7,000 more decades. Hey, principal, don't leave the room. Stay there with your peeps. Stay there and participate. Don't be walking out. Don't act like there's an important phone call. It's PD. Most of your EDLs and area superintendents are not going to call you unless it's like an extreme thing. Other than that, you got to stay. You're spending all these thousands of dollars with your Title I money. Make sure you know what you're getting the bang for your buck. Make sure that you're there and you know how to implement it 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 months later. Because I know I agree with you. I've been in schools being an educator, and the administrators leave. And you're like, well, if it's not important to you, why should I listen to it? Because it's not important to you. And then that's where all as Jimmy Casas calls, the undercurrent that happens in a campus. And so, we're reaching that end right here of the show, Dave. And I have to for sure ask you to talk about those 2 great products that you've created for educators. I need you to talk about your podcast, please, and your publishing company. Tell educators out there, because a lot of people don't. I mean, I'd say, oh yeah, Jimmy Casas was on the show. Oh, John Sanfilippo was on the show. And they're like, who's that? Dave Burgess, the pirate guy. Oh yeah, I think I've heard of them. So let the educators out there know. Talk about your publishing company. How did you get started, and about your podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast is the Dave Burgess Show. And I think I have maybe 60 episodes or so up there right now, more on the way. I've taken a few breaks every now and then. And so I'm about ready to come back from one of those breaks now. Josh told me he's almost done with the episodes. So that means that I have to fill the bucket again. I have to give him some listing material for the gym. So I'm going to get back on that. So the Dave Burgess Show podcast, I would love to have you as a listener. I've had some great guests on there, more on the way. And then very early on, when I was presenting, I got offered a book contract. And I always tell people, I went straight up to my hotel room and Googled. I was out on the road speaking. They offered me a book contract. Went straight to my hotel room, Googled publishing contracts, because I thought that they were trying to cheat me when I read it. Realized they weren't trying to cheat me. That's what they look like. And to me, the only thing missing was a ski mask and a gun. Couldn't believe that this is what a publishing contract looked like. And I told all the publishing companies where to go, form my own company, and publish Teach Like a Pirate from a laptop at the kitchen table. And so now, I was fortunate to have it kind of go viral and spread across education, and then took what I learned from that and started to sign and publish other people. And now Dave Burgess Consulting publishes over 200 books. We have some imprints as well. And so some of these names that you're talking about, like I published Jimmy Casas, Culturize, Live with Excellence. Mentioned Todd Whitaker. I published a couple Todd Whitaker projects. Joe Sanfilippo, Lead from Where You Are, published on the imprint of Impress. And, Ron Clark from the Ron Clark Academy, Be 1% Better. Kim Bearden, co-founder, published her books. Have another book coming out of her soon. Yeah, and so Matt Miller, a lot of people know in the ed tech space and AI space, and over 200 projects from Dave Burgess Consulting, and it is still a home-based business. Run it right here from the kitchen countertop.
Beautiful. How awesome. Awesome. That's a role model right there. Ahí está, mi gente. Ahí está el ejemplo, the example. Perfect job, because it's about a passion for the vision to help kids. So all those things put together, a book, a podcast, is to help kids so that we as the educators become the best version of ourselves. So much to love it. Hey, speaking of that, Dave, you got any books out there that they're burning hot on your fingertips that you want to push and you want to show them right now to the audience?
Yeah. So, one of the projects that I'll tell you about is, I love projects that have a unique flair to them, something different about them. And I'm going to show you one that's just I like projects that no other publishing company would even touch. And then we just like to go crazy with it. And so I'm going to show you Teaching is a Tattoo by Mike Johnston. And Mike Johnston wrote this book. It's incredible. It has pictures of educators with tattoos inside, and then they all have little stories about their tattoo and what that tattoo means to them. But more importantly, what it's about is embracing who you are as an educator and really reflecting on what do you believe in so strongly as an educator that you would put it on your skin? What's your teaching tattoo? Okay. And so it's a mashup of kind of taking stuff from tattoo culture and then also with education and asking educators to be reflective about what they believe so strongly in that they would call it that's my teaching tattoo. And so it's a very interesting title. I love that one. And then the other one I'll show you comes from Kim Bearden, who I just mentioned. This book is coming out June 3rd. And talk about a unique project. It's called I Really Need You to Hear This. And what she did is she wrote poetry from the standpoint of all the different kind of clientele that you might see in your classroom. The kid who gets bullied, the ADHD kid, the kid who is the bully, the kid who is coming from a poor home environment, the gifted kid, the kid who has to be perfect or they're going to be yelled at home. The kid who they don't care what happens at school when they get home, right? All these different kids that might be in your classroom. She wrote from their viewpoint, from their standpoint, saying I really need you to hear this. And then they, in their own voice, describe to the educator what's going on with them and how to reach them. And so it's an entire book of poetry from the viewpoint of your students to you as an educator. So that's a couple of very unique projects that we have that I'm pretty proud of.
So awesome. And a quick reminder to everybody out there, the books that I keep on promoting here from Superintendent Glenn Robbins from New Jersey, Calm in the Chaos, Leadership with the Stoics. Great book. It'll keep you focused from that cheerleading mom that wants her daughter not to be a flyer. His brand new book, he'll be here for episode 60, I Won't Back Down. Educators, there's a dark part of our field. There's a very dark part where people put obstacles for us. And he ties it in to musicians who were told they would never be successful. Discipline, Kevin Curtis, how to establish it in your classroom, on a campus, on a district, the how-to 1, 2, 3, 4, great job. There's this guy that was on the show just a couple of weeks ago. His name is kind of like Jimmy Casas. His brand new book out there, great job. And this is our book study. This is our third brain research book study. This is how we're starting July the 30th. Why don't students like school? It's tied into all brain. This is our third brain research. You got to know the brain, the adolescent brain. If you don't know it, you won't be successful, especially with that stay-at-home thing we did for 2 years. And finally, 23 Stories, Barbara Bray. Yours truly has a chapter where we write about our current home, MPA, and all the great things that happen right there. So in closing, Dave, I want you to finish this, and then we're going to get into our lightning round, my man. Our lightning round. And we'll talk about ganas in a little bit. I need you to finish the sentence. Hey, educator, next year.
Try something new.
Perfect. You want to go a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, it's like there's this, people think there's this high cost of failure, and it's not true. It's not as high as it's, you know what happens? You do something and you fail, they come back the next day and you make it right. And so stop acting like everything has to be so perfect, everything is so precious. Like if they're coming back the next day. So try something new, and you have to hone your craft, be willing to hone your craft. And there's this kind of this idea, like they say that all growth is found outside of your comfort zone. And so if you're never uncomfortable as an educator, then you're not growing. And so we talk to kids about having a growth mindset all the time. Kid comes up and says, I'm not good at math. We're like, whoa, you're not good at math yet, right? And we work with them, build their confidence and their skill set, right? But as educators, we have to have that same growth mindset ourselves and realize that we can't possibly be good at something the first time we try. So we have to be willing to fail and to see that failure as feedback. Don't see it as, it's everything that happens in the classroom is feedback. They're providing you the real-time gift of feedback to help you improve and hone your craft. And so you use that feedback to make shifts in course and adjustments, but don't be afraid to try something new.
Love it. And we're going to finish with our lightning round. Dave, I want some of that magician short answers. If you want to spend 3 hours on question number 2, that's fine. But
me with a short answer? This is going to be
a lightning round, or else you're going to get the Pac-Man. All right? And then after the call, just hold on, Dave. We'll say goodbye to everybody, but we're going to finish. It's called ganas. I'm sure you've been around. Ganas is a spiritual word, Dave, for all Hispanics. Puerto Rico, Cuba, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, we all use this. It's a generational spiritual word that one grandma yells out to their grandchild and says, échale ganas, mija. We know it's not just a word of working hard. It's about saying my generation said it to their generation. It's a loving, embracing word. And that's why we want you, my man, to échale ganas with these questions. Here we go. Give advice to a new administrator.
You can't create change. You can't announce change from the podium. Change is always built at a grassroots level.
Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
I'm going right back to Kim Bearden. Kim Bearden had published 2 books with me. She'd done professional development books, Fight Song and Talk to Me. And she came with this idea of trying something new, of actually releasing her poetry, which is very personal, to the world. And did I think that would be something that would resonate in a book if she wrote this poetry, she released this poetry from the standpoint of these students? And so she was willing to try something new, take a risk, even though she could have played it safe and done another professional development book. She's putting her own poetry out into the world. That inspired me.
Awesome. Send some flowers to a current educator who motivates you.
Nick Roque, Winnipeg, Canada, 1st grade teacher, mom of 4, a blogger, a runner, a CrossFitter, an author, a phenomenal teacher, a book for moms who teach about how they can be great in the classroom, at home, and pursue their own dreams. And recently learned that she has breast cancer. And despite that, continues to inspire and has used her platform now to create a series of reels. If you go to @Nick Roque on Instagram, she is sharing reels about her journey and helping other women about early detection and things like that with breast cancer. So even with this diagnosis, she's like, how can I help other people through my story?
Love it. Name one person. I know it's hard, Dave. I know that's why it's a hard question. One person people should follow on social media.
Lanisha Tab.
Why?
Find her on Instagram. She's the author of the Alpert books for young readers and has a couple other books, including she has a book called Unpack Your Impact with Naomi O'Brien, about how a lot of the ways that we teach social studies is just outdated. And, we need to move past that and create social studies curriculum that reflects the reality of the cultures of our learners. And so Lanisha Tab, she's dynamic.
Name one song that embodies you as a person. One. Nomás una.
Okay.
Una.
This is a tough one.
Una.
I'm even going to go outside of rap for this one, which is rare. Sly and the Family Stone, they have a song called Thank You. And parenthetically, it says, for letting me be myself again. Thank you for letting me be myself again. I love that message.
What's your favorite quote?
Seth Godin, reject the tyranny of picked. Pick yourself.
What's your favorite cheat food or sweet?
Chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream in a waffle cone.
Oh, these chicks got fatter. Good. I love it. What's your favorite TV show?
I'm going to go with a musical instead of a show. Hamilton. I've seen it 4 times live, including traveling to Puerto Rico as part of the hurricane relief shows where Lin-Manuel Miranda came back to play Alexander Hamilton for charity. I flew to Puerto Rico to see Lin play the role of Alexander. So the Hamilton is my favorite show.
Awesome. And how? And you say it so eloquently. How can people get a hold of Mr. Dave Burgess, sir?
On X, you can find me at Burgess Dave. My name is flipped around to Burgess Dave. On Instagram, I am DBC_INC. And I have the Dave Burgess Show podcast, and you can find me at daveburgess.com or all of our books at daveburgessconsulting.com.
I've been hearing that message every morning for the last couple of months. I love it. Thank you, Dave, for being here. Appreciate it. And to the audience, you could have picked anything else. If you made it this far, I want to thank you. Muchas gracias por estar aquí hoy. I really appreciate that. And it's about iron sharpening iron. This is free PD, as I always state. The Fantastic Four with Shika, with Coach Hurd, with Tammy, with Principal Cafela, with myself. We know that budgets are tight right now. We know that. This is all free. You could listen to Jefe, you could listen to Tammy, to Coach Hurd, how to turn around your scores. Dave Burgess, Jimmy, we had Joe Sanfilippo last week. We've had all of these individuals, and it's all free PD. You don't have to order a PO. You don't get it. You don't have to get it approved by your principal, then by the chief financial officer. It's all free. Just like it and share it and be part of it. Be part of the learning, because the better you become, the better your kids will be, and you will establish that growth mindset. And that's why we're here together. So don't forget, I want to thank you very much. The most important part is liking and sharing it. I don't know about Dave. Dave might be getting like $10 billion from YouTube. I ain't getting nothing. I just want to know that you're getting better with voices like this, with voices like our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers that we've had, all of the different individuals that unite us as one family, one educated family from Alaska to Hawaii, from Maine, from Florida, and everywhere in the 48 middle. We're all one educational family, and we're in the best profession, the profession that creates all the other professions, education, and we need you. We want you to have a great Memorial Day. Please don't forget the purpose of tomorrow's day off. It's not for barbecue. It's about the ultimate sacrifice and making sure that we honor those individuals that did everything for us and their families. Don't forget, next week, we're going to have Happy Show number 3. Happy Show number 3. Check out this lineup, Dave. I'm going to have Tom Murray, Ray Hugert, Allison Aspey, Dr. Quinice Miller, and Dr. Salome Thomas in one show, my man. Happy Show number 3.
I'm proud to say I published 3 of them.
There you go. And after that, our Superintendent Roundtable number 2. Nothing but success on a great show, part of the Fantastic Four. Join us, like and share it. We'll see you next week. Thank you for being here. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Dave.
Bye, everybody.